In this particular example, I'm going to show you and introduce you to class notebook that you possibly have used before. So I've got my third year class here, and I click on class notebook at the top. You will do the same. And you click on these rectangles here, and this is the class notebook. You will probably see your name, and obviously you probably will not see teacher only. So how it works is this: the content library is for everyone to see, but you don't write on anything that's in here. Think of it as just the teacher giving you a handout. So in here, and it's got a title, Lockdown Work. Okay, that's just instructions on how to use it. So I've given this particular example a page that says Lockdown Work. Okay. And in this is the work that you were actually given last week. Once it loads up, hopefully. Yeah, that's it, loads up. Okay, so it should be there. See what I did there? I actually just clicked on another one, then clicked back, and it's there. So that's the work that Miss Flynn prepared for this particular class last week. If you didn't do it, now you can catch up from last week. And I know some of you have already done that. So you'll find that work in Content Library, and you'll find other work in Content Library, and your teacher might put in class handouts and information on there. So that's the first thing to do now. In this particular class, that's the only way in which you can view the information sheet with the instructions. So you'll have to use Content Library, Lockdown Work, and it's there. However, any work that you have to personally complete, for example the worksheet that went with this handout, that is in your own individual folder under your name. So for example, if I just randomly choose a pupil in the class and go to Lockdown Work, okay, you'll see that you don't have, Grace for example doesn't have that handout, because you don't have to give the handout to every single pupil, because you can just access it in the content library and it saves time. So if you need to go back to look at the handout that goes with this particular worksheet, then you have to go back to Content Library, Lockdown Work, and there it's there. Okay, so for example, the work for today is the work that some of this particular class did last week, but you did it on a Word document, and I'd like you to maybe, I'm sorry about this, but I'd like to maybe try it again for me, just to experiment with this class workbook, notebook. I know you've done it before, and I have got it, I do appreciate that, but just it might be just an idea. It's not too much to ask you to try it again in this different format to see if it works. Okay, so for example, let's just go back to Grace, Lockdown Work, here it's here, and you can see here you have to complete your answers. So in this particular example, it's called Exploring Chords. So the answer here is F, and the notes of the chord of F are F and C. As I say, you may have done that last day, but I'd like to try this. What you can do is go to Draw, and go to Pen. You can choose the thickness of the pen. Let's just choose that one, and you can write in your answers. Like so. And the good news is, if you ever do that, you don't have to save it. It saves automatically. In fact, you can see here it's currently saving just now because I've added something new to it. So that's one way in which you can do the answers. I'll just do this one as well. I'll not give you all the answers. Yeah. Now, I'm sure you'll agree that's excellent, because I can then see that and I can then mark it. In fact, what I can then do is I can see that, and what I can then do is, to save time, is I can just do, well done Mr. Johnson, you got that one correct, well done Mr. Johnson, you got that one correct. Excellent. Now, there's ever a bit in the page where you don't want to use the pen or the tool, and you find it a bit awkward, it's not working very well. There is another way of doing it. So if I now come back off Draw by clicking here, back to clicking, see what I did there? I clicked off the pen and I clicked the mouse again. You can actually double click anywhere on the page, right? And so the answer for this one, for example here, right, is EGB. What do you think there for a minute, Mr. Johnson? So you can actually also double click and you can write in the full answer. yeah, and drag it along. And that's another way of doing it. And then I can mark that as well. Okay, so it's quite good that, and you can see why I'd like you to this class, the people who in this class who did do this last week, I'd like to try it again, because some of you I think tried to save it and saved it to me and I got a blank copy back for some reason. Okay, so that's step one. If you are joining the class for the first time, if you didn't do this last day, there's also an extension task there for you to do as well. You might just have to copy and paste that link to, in fact that doesn't work, so you just need to leave that just now. Okay, sorry Miss Flynn, that's Miss Flynn's video. That probably will be in a link, a post, beg your pardon, above today's post if you want to try and find that. As you can see here, it's not a live link and I can't copy it. Oh, no, that's not working. So what you need to do at the moment anyway is just go back to the previous work, which is above this particular post, and you'll see messages from Miss Flynn and that will be there. Okay, so that's just a short introduction to today's task. Now, as well as that, if you did do this task the last day, I've got something else for you. So if you weren't present previous week, this is what you do today. If you were present, if you don't mind, and I hope you don't mind doing this, try it again, but this time in this format, because the great thing about this format is it automatically saves and it automatically stores on your class notebook, so it's always there. So I'd like you to have that. And my apologies, I've only really discovered how to use this over the weekend, so I'm sorry for not asking you to do that last time, so you've got to do it again. But I'm sure it won't take too much time. Okay, so that's step one. So step two, for those people that managed to do that last week, because remember today, for example, you're in for 3 periods. Well, this class is in for 3 periods today. So I have another bit of work for you to do, and it's another workbook. Now, this particular workbook, you don't need to do it all, right? For example, I know you probably have done this type of thing a million times, so please, you don't have to write in C, F, F, E. I know you've done all of that. Remember, the point of these lessons is composition. So I know you've done all that, and unless you want to, if there's anything you feel you benefit from, or indeed you would just like to experiment with the class notebook and see how it works. So again, because it is excellent, I'm sure you'll agree, but having seen that last example, that it is excellent. So for example, if I go to draw, choose my pen again, sorry Grace, this is your own example. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to write on Grace's example, because as I said before, that will actually store, it will save automatically. So I'm going to come out of Grace's, I'm going to go to the content library. In fact, you know something? I just realised you can't write in the content library. That's the whole point of it. You can't actually write anything in here. So I have to use your example, Grace, because when you put something in the content library, it stops you writing on it, because it's really just meant for handouts and for information. Yeah. So therefore, I'm going to have to use yours, Grace's, but I will rub it out. Okay, I'll rub out the answers. Okay. In fact, did I finish off? Was that the one I did for you, Grace? That last one? It was, wasn't it? That one there. Yeah, that was yours, Grace. So what I'll do, and this is quite good because I can show you how to use the rubber. Okay, I'll just rub it. One thing I don't like about it is you'll notice that it's still the pointer, even though I'm on the rubber. So therefore, sometimes you forget. I find myself forgetting, going, why is that not working? Why is something not working? And you forget you're not back to the mouse again. I would say that's a little flaw in the program. Really, that icon should now be going to a rubber rather than an arrow, if that makes sense. But we're all learning. So as you can see here, so you've got to keep reminding yourself that you've got to go back to the arrow. Right, bit of a pain. Oh, Grace, I've kept that one there. So in actual fact, for this particular example, for a text box, you can actually highlight the text box and press delete or backspace, and it does that. That's another annoying thing it does. When you hit backspace, it goes to the bottom, but you can see here that the work I put in for Grace is now gone. Okay, so Grace, you have a blank copy to do again, because I know you actually did the last assignment last day. Okay, so that's that done. So I'm still, in fact, let's not choose Grace, because we just chose Grace before. Let's choose someone else. Who will we choose? Let's choose Sam. Okay, so we've got Sam and lockdown work. Yeah, that's Sam's. Okay, Sam's going to do that again. Sorry, Sam, if you don't mind. I know you've done it and I got your Word document. I got all that, Sam, but if you don't mind, I'm going to go to here. And so again, so unless you really want to experiment with the pencil tool. Oh, that's still on red. That's for me for marking. So I will do that. And that should be us, Sam, right? So unless you want to experiment with it, for example, that note's a C, So you might want to experiment writing a C, or let's slow down a little bit. You might want to experiment writing an F, just to get used to it. That's running a little bit slow. It's possibly running slow because I'm doing a screen recording just now, so that backs up the computer a little bit. That's another F. So you might find that yours doesn't do that. Hopefully it's a bit better than that. The first attempt I did was better, but now it's because I'm making a screen recording, it's running a little bit slower. But you can get the idea now. One thing I should say, remember, is don't worry too much about it if it looks a bit messy, right? I know what you're trying to do. Okay? Yeah, that's an E. Yeah, that worked, didn't it? So you can experiment a little bit with that, but the whole point of this task is a composition task to get you to be able to read and write your own music, yeah? So I would maybe start roundabout, because I know you've done lots of these exercises in the first and second year, right? So I would maybe start roundabout, maybe here, copy each group of notes into the space provided and also name the notes. Right, that might be a good idea to do. So therefore we're looking at experimenting with writing in musical notes in class workbook, because this lockdown is possibly going to continue for quite a while yet. So it might be an idea just to practice using this technique, because it might be what we have to do. So I want to write a G, see, copy each musical note. Now, as I said before, I'm not going to name the notes, because I know that you know how to do that. Okay, right, now again, you can if you want, but I'm more interested in trying to practice copying in the notes. So I'm going to try and practice writing in this G using the pen tool. Now you can see what I've had to do there. I've almost had to do it, right? And I can't see it being done initially, but then it catches up with itself. Does that make sense? So that works. Now, with a bit of luck, because you're not making a screen recording and because your computer might be faster than mine, that might not happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen. But if it does happen, do you see the technique there? So what I'm going to do that again. I'm going to write in the C, but I'm not expecting it to write in right away, but I'm still trying to get my mouse in the C space, trying not to go over the lines. Yeah? So I'm going to do that, sit back and see what happens. Bingo. Right? Well, it's not bingo. It's music. That's just a joke. But hopefully you can see that. Yeah? And again, I think of how good that would be if you can do worksheets on the screen for me, but writing in musical notes. You can probably see the potential of that, which is why today, because you're in for the treble period, I thought it'd be a really good idea just for me to make this very long video, I know, but just get used to using this technique, because I hope you agree with me that it is actually excellent. It's got a lot of potential, especially if it does move faster than what's doing just now. So I'm now going to do an A. Fantastic. I'm now going to do a D. Wonderful. So there is a knack to it, using the mouse, and the whole point of today is to practice the knack. Yeah? I mean, for example, if you're going to write that A, right, that's slightly different. You're going to do a line, then the note. So you do your line, then the note. Have I got that right? Oh, Mr. Johnson, you're on fire. There you go. I got it absolutely perfectly right. But there's a knack to that. And of course, if you make a mistake, just go up to the rubber, right, and rub it out. And start again. Okay, so it's just practicing these notes. So I'm going to. This is Sam's. So I'm going to take that off Sam's, so he's got a blank copy tomorrow, because that saves automatically, right? And the other absolutely wonderful thing about this, if Sam was logged in just now, looking at this sheet, he would actually see me doing that in real time, which is excellent. So you can do all of that, right? And there's a little bit of practice. Look, write the following sequences one note higher, right? So the idea is that you copyright the notes in, but you actually write them one note higher. So it just gives you a bit of practice writing in notes, but not copying in notes. So I'll show you how that works, for example. So one note higher of this F is a G. So I'm going to write in a G. Correct. One note higher than that is up to an E. So I'm going to write in an E. Correct. One note higher than that is a G. So I'm going to write one note higher, A. Correct. One note higher than that's a C. Now you can see how long that's taken me to do. So that's plenty of work today. I have given you, and I'm actually quite enjoying this. I'm actually really enjoying working this, because I think it's absolutely wonderful, right? Because there's no other way of doing it. And that gives you a little, I mean, for example, choose from repetition, ascending sequence or descending sequence. You'll know what that means once you read that information, okay? But again, this is a great example. For example, that obviously is an ascending sequence because the notes go up the way. Can you see that? Right? The notes go up. and then they go down. So the notes here go down, right? Those notes also go down, but every note is higher. So obviously they go up the way, the notes go up the way, so it's an ascending sequence. But in order to put in my answer, I go back to my arrow, and I type here, right? And I type okay, right? And I drag that along, and I do that. How good is that, third year? There you go. Excellent. Now, I would say down to page 7 is enough for today, if you take your time, even though you're in for the treble period. If you want to go into the rhythm, you can go into that, yeah, 2 beats in the bar, you can write your answer in pen, or you could even write it. Suppose there is actually a way, I'll just show you, just in case you find the pen difficult in this example, right? There is actually a way of doing this. Look, now you can reduce the size of that text box, but the good thing is, I think I'm right in saying that the text box, you can see through it. I am. So it works perfect. Yeah, so you can do it like that. Once again, you can practice that if you want. As soon as you get to something though where you really don't know what to do, I mean, for example, in this example, this is actually a good example, it asks you to fill out notes to make the total number of beats in the bar. So for example, there are 2 beats in the bar here, so basically I want to write another 1 note beat in here. Yeah, and that makes 2. Does that make sense? Yeah, right? Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just going to do that again. So if I copy the pencil, and I'm going to try and write a note. This is slightly different because this note has to be what we call coloured in. Yeah, so that, for example, will work. Now, it's not a very good way. It's actually not very good anyway. So I'll just take the rubber and rub it out. It wasn't a good example anyway. Now, there is a technique for this. I have found that if you then go up to here and make your line thicker, just do a dot here. Now this worked in my last example that I did for another video, so it might not work here, but let me try it. It did work. There you go. How good is that? How good is that? And then you might find that the line is too thick. Let's just try it. No. Oh, it's deep. Yes, I was right. Far too thick. That looks ridiculous, doesn't it? So the downside of that system, and I know it's a bit of a pain, I do understand that. Please delete. Why is that not deleted? Welcome to my life, everyone. Why is that not deleted? What if I hit backspace? It deletes. Delete. Oh, don't do that. Sorry, I'm quite pleased it's doing that. Yeah, I'm quite pleased it's doing all that because you can see how it works. So I know it's a little bit cumbersome. I fully appreciate that, but think about it for online learning during lockdown. This is it. This is good. So what you do is, see what I did there? I chose the thick option. Maybe that was too thick actually. So maybe I'll just choose that one, right? And I will do that. Dot on the line. Yeah, that's on the line. Yeah, I know it's a little bit up in the space, but come on, during lockdown, online, you know, for something, for you know, if this is ideal, I'll accept that. Then you have to go back, thin line, and I think that is more than acceptable third year. I really, really, really do. Right, so once again, practice that. That gives you plenty to do. In fact, I've given you tons to do for Monday. So don't worry about how much you get done, etc. But basically the goal is learn how to work this system. I must admit, I'm really enjoying that. I really am enjoying it. So in this particular example, if you got to just do 1 beat, in each of the following examples, add 1 note. Yes, 1 note. So here, for example, you do the same again. Yeah, crotchet. Same again. Right? Here, for example, right, 1 note isn't that, because that's a 1 beat note. You want a 2 beat note in there. So once again, you can keep on the thin line, probably. Right? In fact, I think it was the second one I chose for writing in the musical notes. So you can then just do the old that, because you don't need to colour it in. That wasn't a good example, Mr. Johnson, because that looks more like an A than a G. Right, so let's just delete that and start again. Okay. Oh, I'm still on the rubber. I do apologise. See what I did there? Remember I said earlier on that it's a flaw in this system is it doesn't change the cursor. It keeps it as an arrow. It'd be a lot better if it actually changed the cursor. Right, so once again, let's just pretend I'm writing in a G, but then it should catch up. Ah, is that because I've chosen the wrong one? Have I chosen that one? I really should have done that one. Let's try a thinner line. Now, see what I'm doing just now? As I always say to you, if ever I ask you to do something, I always say, I do it first. So I don't mind making all these mistakes, because you're learning from my mistakes. He says, trying to cover his tracks. Right, let's try it again. Thin line, G. Done. Oh, this particular one seems to go a bit higher. See if that does happen, right? Because I've done it, I'll let you away with it. There's the answer. Yeah, it's not ideal. Not ideal. For some reason, the ones I did up here were better, right? Yeah, these ones were better. So you're trying to get that, right? But if you end up doing, where is it? That, come on. You know, it's still a lot better, right, than absolutely doing nothing. Right, so who am I again? I think this was Sam's, wasn't it? I think it was Sam's. Right, so Sam, I will delete all of that. Right, I think you will agree, third year, Mr. Johnson has given you tons to do during your treble period of music today. So you either, right, I'll revise everything one last time as I always do, and that's you set up. So I'll just leave a little message to say I'm online tomorrow, but hopefully by watching this video that'll keep me very busy, okay, if you need me, right, but I'll just show you a video, sorry, I'll just do a recap of everything. So the recap of everything is this. Let's get all this back to square one. Right, recap, here we go. Class notebook, here, yeah? Now you won't see all of that, you'll just see your name. Miss Flynn's first lesson that some of you have done, the information sheet that you need for that is in the content library. Lockdown work, right, that one there. So you read that. I know some of you have already done that. Okay, right. Then you'll find the work that goes with this in your particular part of class notebook. So for example, it's under lockdown work, right, and your job is to complete that using the pen. Okay, right, or let's rub out Caleb's. Why is that not rubbing out, Mr. Johnson? Why is that doing that? Right, I have no idea why it's doing that, folks. Let's try one. Oh no, I didn't choose the rubber, sorry, my fault. There you go. Or using the text box. Alright, and if you don't really have to do that, by the way, because I know that's where the A should go and the C should go, but listen, if you just do that. Now, I apologise for those people that have already done it. If you don't mind, right, it'd be quite nice to try it again, just to experiment how to use class notebook. Okay? And if you haven't already done so, you can watch this video, right? And it doesn't work on this link here. I'm trying to copy and paste that link. It's not working, but you'll find that link on Miss Flynn's previous post, which is above my posts for today. Okay? Step one. Alright with that, everyone? And I know some of you have already done that. Okay? Step two. Step two is to then turn your attention to this. It's not handouts, Mr. Johnson. It's lockdown work. Right? Is to then turn your attention to this and do as much of this as you want. The whole point of this is to experiment and get used to using the pen tool, the different thicknesses of the pen tool, what works best for you, etc, etc, and also get used to annoying things about the program, such as the cursor doesn't change, and you'll get used to the fact the cursor doesn't change, right, and you have to go and change it up here. Okay, and I say what I can possibly do tomorrow, if I see you online tomorrow, right, what I will do is I will pop into the class notebook and I can actually, let's just say for example that Grace is doing this tomorrow, right, I can actually see Grace working in real time. And I might even, if we have time, etc., set up a little meeting, which is up here, and a wee meeting will pop up. If I see you're doing the work, you can join the meeting, have a little chat with me, and we can talk about how you're getting on, and possibly as you are doing your work, I can talk to you. So it's almost as if I'm beside you, I'm in the same classroom at school, which is, I'm sure you'll agree, is absolutely wonderful, because Nicola Sturgeon announced yesterday that this lockdown is going to continue, and we have to look at ways in which we can really learn. As I said to some of you before, I've said this to you before, you will have to do a composition next year, right? Because currently the fourth year don't because of the COVID and the lockdown. But remember, hopefully once this vaccine goes in, gets rolled out, the vaccine, everything with a bit of luck will be back to normal next year. So you'll have to do a composition. So this is the best you can possibly do, because your instruments are way ahead, your listening is quite far ahead, so this is the best you can possibly do. Okay, Right, final thing is I will post another link from next week's work. Mr. Henderson has kindly posted a link for some listening material, which might do his next week as well. But I'll post that link because Mr. Henderson's taken a lot of time to make up the video, because I know you're in for 3 periods, and then I know I can guarantee that you've got enough work to do for the 3 periods when you're in music with me tomorrow. Okay, everyone. I hope you enjoy that. I must admit, I'm not going to lie here, I actually really enjoy doing that for you. I think this is an excellent new system. So hopefully you should find it works for you. It seems to work for me okay, and as I say, my computer's a bit old, and I'm also making a screen recording just now, so therefore it's slowing down the computer. So with a bit of luck, that will work even better for you. Okay, right, message me tomorrow, or I might even speak to you to hear how you're getting on, and thanks for watching.